Hello folks, this is Double RPG here, and welcome to my new Let's Play, where we're going to take a look at a Game Boy Advance game for once. And this Game Boy Advance game that we're going to take a look at is Castlevania Circle of the Moon for the Game Boy Advance, as I said. And it was developed by Konami of Tokyo, or Konami Computer Entertainment Tokyo, or whatever it said, Kobe, I think. And it was also published by the same company. So, Castlevania Circle of the Moon, this is pretty much the second Metroidvania-style Castlevania game after the initial release of Symphony in the Night. And it does not star any of the famous characters that we come to know, except where you have Dracula as the main antagonist, like with most every other Castlevania game. But, yeah, we're going to be going through this from beginning to end, and I have been doing some practice files on this game to make sure that I can get through it without any problems, and to see where most of all the big secrets are. Now, we may tend to get lost at some points of the game, but we'll just have to figure out where all that will lead us to. But anyway, enough looking at the demo screen and enough taking a look at the opening credits. It's time for us to get on with the action. And as you can tell, this song is actually from the opening section of the game Castlevania Rondo of Blood that was released on the PC Engine, which was the TG16. Okay, so, but yes, we're going to be hearing a lot of the not TG16, but a lot of themes from past Castlevania games before Circle of the Moon make an appearance in this game. Or, you know, sound-wise make an appearance. But yes, here we go. It is 1830, so it takes place about 40 years after Symphony in the Night, or close to 30 years, or a little after 30 years. At an old Austrian castle, from the worshippers of chaos, rise the plea for the return of the Lord of Darkness. So yes, as with every Castlevania game, we are going into Dracula's castle, or typically Castlevania. But with every time we go into Dracula's castle with every game, it always ends up being different. And here's Camilla trying to revive her master, and she says, "We crave the presence of the embodiment of suffering, the ruler of darkness." And she summons Dracula from the dead, after 30 years of being held in confinement after his son Alucard defeated him. "I have waited for this moment, to be awake again, to bask in darkness and feel the moonlight within." "Count Dracula, I am honored to be in your presence." "Indeed, though I lack my full power." "We are preparing the rite to replenish your power." "Stop! You cannot be allowed to taint the world." I remember. You were one of the vampire killers that sealed me. You've aged. It is our duty to see you banished. Amusing. To use my nemesis's life to return my power. I have no use for children. Begone! And then Dracula uses his power to send those two, named Hugh and Nathan, down to an endless abyss from below. "Master! Father!" So yes, the main character who we're playing as in this game is Nathan Graves. No creatures around here. "Hugh, are you okay?" "Yeah, we were just brushed aside and ignored." "We have to find Master." "I'll go. He's my father." "Nathan, you'll be in the way. Just get out of here." "I want to find Master as much as anybody." Even though Hugh has a little bit of an arrogant personality within him, we're still going to go find his father regardless, or our master. Anyway, here's one of the game's main features, our attribute and action cards, and they will create a specific effect, or whatever the DSS means. I think, we'll find out. But these cards will help us set up specific functions for certain cards to do unique abilities, and there's lots of variables to be had. And I know what do you call it? I know that Koji Igarashi, when he took a look at this game, he actually panned it for being a really flawed game, but he said that one of the things that was actually really cool, or really good, was the game's card system, the DSS system. But yeah, this is the game's main innovation. It's pretty cool, I must say myself, for having so many variables on how you can actually defeat your enemies based on what elements from the cards that you can actually use. Okay, we should be getting close to the bottom here, and then we can go into the Catacombs. Now, I know a lot of people, they usually don't tend to talk about this game, as they have been more favorable towards other Castlevania games like not only Symphony of the Night, but pretty much, what do you call it? Pretty much Aria and Dawn of Sorrow. Okay, now we're in the Catacomb, and this is the main theme of the game, which is called Awake. And this is pretty much the only original theme that's within this game, as most of the others are remixes of other themes from past Castlevania games. And as you can tell, we can actually attack enemies if we use our feet, or where we do low attacks and just do a slide ability. Okay, what do we get? We get a Mercury Card. So, let me go ahead and show you what... actually, that was the map screen, which we can hit the select button to take a look at. But if we take a look at the dual setup system, which is what it is, with the cards, we can actually take a look at what type of cards we can actually connect to each other, where the action is based off the planets or the moons, and the attribute of the monster or the demon that we actually come across. Okay, and the way you do this is you hold the L and R button to execute the dual setup system, and this is actually pretty good to do some really powerful attacks. But you can also hit the L and R button to discontinue using the attributes of the card. And it will drain your magic points significantly, so use it wisely. I would recommend using that setup against most of the bosses. Okay. And with Metroidvania-style games, the gameplay is usually very non-linear, where you have to determine where you have to go. And it's usually trial and error to figure out where exactly you need to go at, unless if you take a look at, like, say, for instance, a walkthrough off of GameFAQs, or maybe even a Nintendo Power magazine back in 2001, because I think this game was one of the launch titles for the Game Boy Advance, if I'm not mistaken. And as I said, this wasn't created by Iga and his crew, as it was pretty much done by a different team. But it was actually a really cool take to see that Konami show some interest in the Metroidvania-style gameplay that Iga was very famous for creating. And I myself, I like the Metroidvania-style games, but I usually prefer the classics, especially Super Castlevania 4. And I know I also really like the Castlevania: The Adventure Rebirth that was on the WiiWare. It was actually a really good download title, as it pretty much went back to basics like most of the Konami games seem to be going for these days. Sometimes, but, you know, it's actually pretty cool that we actually got a reimagining of certain games like that. Okay, now these poison worms, you don't want to touch them because you'll get poisoned and you need to have an antidote, or else your life's going to completely drain. Okay, if we come this way, we actually get introduced to this chap who actually starts chucking rocks at us because of his name being Earth Demon. So you're going to have to be really careful and make those jumps, and sometimes it's really good to use that dual setup system, specifically with the cards when fighting against this enemy, but I would recommend using something like wind powers or something, because, you know, the opposite effect of earth is wind, and with the opposite effect of fire is water, and vice versa. Okay, and now we have defeated Earth Demon. And if we come over here, come down this way, we actually grab this item. These are the dash boots, and double tap forward to perform a dash move. So now we no longer have to walk, and we can actually start to run a bit faster, and we can actually get our butts in gear. Okay, so I don't think this is going to lead us anywhere, but we'll check. Sometimes some of the places that you go to early on ahead of time, they are not that accessible until you get to other places. But you know, we can't always explore everything right away. I mean, it's not like in the extra game mode or the New Game Plus mode where you could play extra characters where they can have more access to some places than anybody else. I mean, if you played Symphony of the Night, then you have a good idea that when you're playing that mode with Richter Belmont, then you can actually get more access to some of the later places that you couldn't even reach with as a la carte when you're just playing the normal game. But, you know, it's actually pretty cool that you actually got more accessibility for doing stuff like that in later games. Okay, now I grabbed a couple of pieces of armor, and you can actually gain armor in this game, but you cannot even use different weapons because Nathan Graves' only weapon that he can use is pretty much the whip, which is the equal of what a Belmont uses whenever they fight against Dracula. So it actually makes sense to have this game to have a little bit of homage to the Belmont clan, even though this guy is not particularly a Belmont per se, but, you know, I think some people kind of overlook the fact that even though that that Nathan Graves is not specifically a Belmont, but, you know, he at least has the power to use a whip called the Hunter Whip, even though it's not the vampire killer, but, you know, I guess you could actually say that he could be a Belmont per se. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, it's another one of these Chumleys, but I don't think there's anything in importance that we can find this way. Ah, dang it. Oh, and you cannot even find any... Well, you can find potions in the game, but they're really scarce. You have to defeat enemies to get items from them, and you have to use the save points more prominently to heal your hit points and your magic points. So take that into account, as you will have to search for those things, you know, search for save points constantly if you're within the heat of battle, like I was from what you saw. And right before we exited that room, I defeated the Earth Demon, and I gained another level. So, yeah, I'm going to be trying to grind for levels quite excessively, especially before we go up to the bosses. But I'm not going to... But, you know, when you use something like the attributes of the cards and the actions, then you should be able to do just fine with defeating whatever you're going to go up against. And speaking of which, we should be getting up to the very burst... excuse me, I can't even talk. The very first boss that's within this game. And you might notice something actually very interesting when we go up against this boss, but I will hold on to that as soon as we get to it. Okay, there's another crevice that I cannot even go through because of it being a small hole. And if we come up here... Oh! Crap. Okay. And we gain ourselves another piece of useless leather armor, which we already have some at this moment. Okay, if we come over here... Oh, cool. Oh, shoot. Ectoplasm. Or spirits. I think the spirits will actually... if I do remember correctly, they're kind of like the ectoplasm that will make you go slower or prevent you from using your items. But anyway... That item... No, they actually don't do that. Okay, now I got myself an MP Max item. Basically, what that item will do is that it will increase your maximum magic points. Like with the heart pieces, which you can find in this game, they will increase your heart. And with the other type of potions, which are pink, they will fill up your hit point gauge to a bigger limit. And I also gained the wristband. That will grant me more attack power, so that should make things a little bit easier when we go up against the first boss here. Oh, shoot. Okay. There should be a save point that should be very close, if I'm not mistaken. Because we are getting very close to the boss, and now I'm going to be harassed by mudmen, as well as the spirits, as they're going to try to kill me. And I do not want that to happen. But we wanted to come this way because we get another MP Max, so more MP Maxes the better. Okay, so the spirits, they take less than 10 hit points to destroy, but the mudmen, they take over 50 evidently. And you notice that some of the enemies that we can kill quick, they have very weak defenses, and that's very useful for taking them down quickly. But even though they can be quite a pain when you're just trying to get them to stop harassing you, like the spirit, for instance, right there. Oh, crap. Okay. And there's a bonehead that was just blocking our path there. And more spirits that come to harass us. And as you would have guessed, I'm gaining a lot of hearts, and this is basically because with this game being more of a traditional Castlevania game, even though it's in the Metroidvania style where we're using a whip, we cannot even gain any currency in terms of like growing our characters. So some of those things that you saw in Symphony of the Night were actually more lessened down in this game, as it's pretty much using your whip most of the time. Okay, actually the boss is just right around this area or the next one, and I know there is a save point really, really close to here. Is it right up over here? It's gotta be. Yes, here's the save point. Okay, now we're gonna save our progress here, and we're gonna go to the next room, and then just beyond the next room, that will be where the first boss is. Oh, I got my butt kicked by that bomb. Ugh. Bad bombs. Though they were not tasty fireballs. Oh, cool. We got gremlins, flying gremlins who are going to give us trouble. And we gained ourselves another wristband, which we can increase our strength even further. Like we really need it. Okay, let's come over here. Okay, we gained there is a heart piece right here. And the heart max increases our heart count. And pretty much the heart count is what you use to use your side items, like the knife and the axe and the holy cross and all those other good stuff that you remember from traditional Castlevania games. Like I said, this guy particularly acts more like a Belmont, even though he is not one. Okay, we can't even go that way yet because there's an item that we do not have in our possession. Excuse me. Okay. And that is not the way either, but let's check it out. Oh, we got hoppers, and we got treasure in here. Is there something really good that we can actually use? Besides leveling up, which is always a pleasure as well. Oh, another MP max. We'll take that. Okay. It's a good thing I checked in here, so that way we can gain as much MP as we can when fighting against the bosses with those attribute and action cards. Okay, there's the first door to the first boss. When we go in here, that boss should be coming very... There it is. Now we're going to want to use the attribute cards as much as we can, because it's actually going to do a lot of damage to our ferocious dog friend. And now it's going to be very pissed and try to cause a frenzy. But as you can tell, using this ability, it's really helpful when trying to do a number on it. Oh, dang it. Dang. And every time when it screams like that, it's going to change its stance on what it's going to do. And by changing its stance, it's going to either jump around and try to get us hurt, or it could even, you know, hit us with those beams. Come on. We should almost get this guy. He should be about done. Alright, we finally got him. That boss was kind of hard, but we managed to get him by using this. I told you, using those cards, those attribute and action cards, that will definitely save you a bundle. And everything's fire back here. And that first boss was called Cerberus, by the way. For those of you who don't remember, Cerberus is basically a dog that has multiple heads. And that's basically what it was. Okay, so we come here, we grab this, we receive an item called Double. Basically, Double will allow us to do another jump that can be performed in midair. So we have the ability to do double jumps. Nice. And with that, I think that is going to go ahead and we are going to wrap up things right here. So next time on Double RPG Let's Play with Castlevania Circle of the Moon on the Game Boy Advance, we're going to resume where we left off, and we are going to go to the next area to see if we can actually find the second boss. Maybe a little bit of traversing, but we'll see how far along we get. Alright gamers, take care of yourselves, and I shall see you on the next episode. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys then.